Good afternoon and happy Friday. Alright, so today I want to talk about carbs or carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are one of 3 macronutrients, that our body uses for daily functions. The others being fats and proteins. So just like fats and proteins, there are healthier, better choices for the carbohydrates that we do eat, and there are also not as great, unhealthy choices for carbohydrates that we eat. The healthier options being quinoa, beans, whole grains, versus sugary drinks or processed foods. So there's a lot of controversy about if carbs are good or bad, or articles that state carbs make you fat or that they aren't necessary. So the truth is, you should not be living on 0 carbohydrates. Carbs break down to glucose in your body, which is actually the primary fuel source for your body to perform physical activity. It's the first energy store that your body starts to break down and tap into, because fats and proteins take longer to break down and convert into energy. Glucose is also stored in the muscle cells and liver as a readily available source of energy when blood sugar levels are low. Now, it is important what kinds of carbohydrates you are consuming. Your best bet is to be getting most of your carbohydrates from veggies rather than loads of pasta. And this relates to high volume foods versus low volume foods. For example, you could probably eat 3 or 4 times the amount of broccoli as you could potatoes for the same amount of carbohydrates. So with the broccoli, you're getting a lot more volume, which is more filling and takes up more room in your stomach, as opposed to a couple pieces of potato, if that makes sense. So if you're choosing low volume foods more frequently, such as pasta, potatoes, breads, then you won't be able to eat as much within your caloric allowance for the day, and you won't feel as full, and then that tends to lead to overeating. Can you lose weight by cutting out carbs? Yes. But you can also lose weight while eating carbs. The only way you're actually losing weight when you cut out carbs is if you're actually in a caloric deficit. If you cut out carbs, even 100%, but you still are eating more than your body burns in a day, you'll still gain weight. Carbs are not the enemy. Overeating is. I'm probably going to end up spilling this. Carbs are also important as a fiber source as well. Now, there are fiber supplements, but you could just eat high fiber foods rather than taking a supplement. Not having the proper fiber intake can also have an impact on your weight loss journey as well. That sounds like a video for another time. So the reason that low carb and or keto diets work is because they potentially just happen to place you into a caloric deficit, because they cut out low volume foods, such as you can't have potatoes, you can't have pasta or breads, I believe. So you end up just eating more high volume foods and feeling full faster. But the reality is you can still have carbs of all kinds and lose weight as long as you're tracking your daily intake. So fruits tend to be a low volume food. Even though it is a natural sugar, they still are high in carbohydrates, depending on the fruit that you're eating. So this is a great time to look at the glycemic index chart. I put a link in the description below of one that I thought was fairly helpful and had a lot of different foods on it. So the glycemic index basically charts foods depending on if they are a simple carbohydrate or a complex carbohydrate or somewhere in the middle. 2 foods can have the same amount of carbohydrates but be at different ends of the spectrum on the glycemic index. For example, a whole grain pasta versus white pasta. They don't differ very much in the macronutrients, but Whole grains are complex carbohydrates, so it takes longer for your body to break them down, whereas simple carbohydrates can cause a spike in your blood sugar levels. So you'll see the numbers on this chart for which foods are what number on the glycemic index. Anything 55 and below is considered a low glycemic food. 56 to 59 means they're in the middle. 70 and above is considered high on the glycemic index, which means they are a quick sugar. So these are the foods that, especially if you are diabetic or have symptoms of diabetes, those are things you want to kind of stay away from because they go right into your bloodstream and cause spikes in your blood sugar levels. Fruits are great sources of vitamins and minerals, aka our micronutrients. However, like I said before, they can be low volume foods, so it's still important to track your fruits in your daily intake if you're really trying to lose weight. It's been suggested in the past that fruits are 0-calorie foods, which, yes, they are better than eating a pack of cookies. So I would agree based off of that comparison. But if you consume fruit and go over your caloric intake for the day, you'll still gain weight. You don't magically not gain weight because it was fruit you ate and not cookies. A calorie is a calorie. So, moral of the story, carbs are not the enemy. Overeating is. So you can still have carbs. Just try your best to focus on most of your carbohydrate sources being lower on the glycemic index. Everything always functions better when physical activity is involved, so always make sure you're staying active. And if your goal is weight loss, your true BFF is going to be that caloric deficit. No matter what diet trend you decide to try out, you still have to be in a caloric deficit. Okay, so I hope that clears up some myths about carbohydrates for you. I eat carbs every day. I do try and choose low glycemic carbs to the best of my ability, but I still have pasta, I still have potatoes. I just try and moderate that kind of stuff. If you have any other questions about carbohydrates or any other topics you would like covered, please drop them in the comments below. I'm here to help you to the best of my ability, so help me help you. All right, thanks so much for watching. Please comment, like, subscribe, share the video, save it for a rainy day, follow on social media. Every little bit helps and is very much appreciated. I'd love to have you as part of the Facebook family and see you follow me on Instagram. I'm always trying to post tips and tricks on there as well that maybe don't make it to a YouTube video. All right, I hope you guys have a great rest of your Friday. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week.